Hi, what's going on guys? It's Almond. Welcome back to another Wizard101 video. In today's video, it's going to be a full-on guide on how to complete death weaving. Now I've already uploaded guides for other schools as well regarding weaving, so if you want to see any of them, they're already on the channel. Some of them I've already recorded that I still need to edit, so bear with me. I will eventually upload them on the channel. This video will go over everything regarding death weaving from the ranks 1 through 3 currently that exist in Wizard101. And if you are still confused by the end of this video, definitely leave a comment below or even just ping me in my Discord. Everything I show in this video will be in the Discord, so if you want to be looking at it at your own time, definitely join the Discord. There's plenty of other guides in there as well. Also, I appreciate everyone that's subscribing and leaving a comment and also liking all the videos. It does help out with the algorithm way more than you realize, so do so if you haven't. But let's go over weaving. Now, is weaving required? To a certain extent, it is required. This is a requirement if you are trying to start Celestia, so you have to do the little pre-quest, 2 little tutorials, and then you're good to go to start Celestia. You don't have to completely start weaving to start Celestia, but you do need to complete the 2 tutorials to turn in the quest and actually start Celestia. You get access to weaving once you finish Dragonspire, so also keep that in mind. Now, how do you unlock more ranks? Well, they're actually world-based. So if you complete Dragonspire, you will unlock the rank 1 questline. Once you finish Celestia, you'll be able to unlock rank 2, and then once you finish Safaria, you'll unlock rank 3, so on and so forth. Every year they're going to try to increase their ranks at least once. So definitely in 2025, look forward to hopefully a new rank 1 or another rank questline. How do you start the weaving process as a whole? The way that you start is talking to Merle Ambrose in his office. He should have a quest for you talking about Arch Mastery, so do that, please. If you do not do this quest, you will not be able to do weaving. Make sure you do the entire questline, even the tutorial about Arch Mastery. Just follow the tutorial and you'll understand what to do in that fight. Also, some people said that the minion wasn't respawning for them. Reason being is pay attention to what Diego says. He wants you to change your school pip in your deck. So make sure you do that. If not, the minion will not respawn to continue the tutorial. Now after you finish that whole tutorial, Diego will have another quest for you, talking to Baelstrom, which is the Storm Professor, which you have to do. In that quest line, you're required to go to Marleybone and have to do the pre-quest for Arc 2. It's a requirement for weaving, so you must do this as well. This will consist of 2 separate dungeons that you have to do. Very easy. You can just AoE kill them. They're not really that hard. Just remember, if you are in the first dungeon and you're looking for the puzzle piece or the item, it's in the top right corner, so make sure you grab that before you leave. Once you finish both fights, it's going to require you to go talk to the Storm Professor again. Once you talk to the Storm Professor, then he will tell you to go to Krakatopia. This whole questline should lead you to Salinopolis. Then you can go to the Blended Grove, see all the trees of course, and then finish the one last tutorial you have to do. In this last tutorial, will teach you about the magic wheel and everything like that, but it's a requirement. You must complete it for weaving. Just read the dialogue on screen and you'll know exactly what to do. Once you finish that, make sure you turn in your quest to Merle Ambrose and you're ready to do the whole weaving process. Let's also go over some other questions that were frequently asked. Can I switch weaving at any time? The answer is yes. You can swap to any weaving path at any time, and if you've already started weaving into a certain school, you can literally switch weaving to another school and all your progress is saved. You will not be reset, your progress will not reset. It keeps all of your stuff, so don't worry if you can switch at any time realistically. How does fusion work? Well, that's a good question. Fusion, I've already uploaded a video on. I've talked about it in multiple videos. Just watch one of the videos. I'm not going to go too far into depth. But basically, the TLDR version is you have to have the 2 trained spells for the formula. And then you have to learn the formula, of course, with the training point. And you can combine them together and create a new card. That's the TLDR version. But if you want to watch an in-depth video, check the video on screen. And then the last question I keep getting asked, which is regarding the lessons, which we will be talking about in this video, of course, is how do I create a group for one of the lesson requirements? Because some people have had issues where they've been in a group and they haven't been able to get progress. The way that you get progress is you have to invite the member that you are helping questing in a adventure party. On screen, I'll show you how to invite them to an adventure party. Essentially, you invite them to a group first, and then at the bottom, it shows, hey, you can invite or create a new adventure party with them. You create a new adventure party. After that, you leave the group you've already created, and then you go back into the adventure party tab and invite them through there, and then you're set. Then you can help them with whatever quest that they need to do, but make sure it's a mainline story quest for that lesson. That doesn't mean help them with side quests. It has to be a mainline story quest, so anything that's like main story. Hopefully that answers all your questions about the frequently asked portion, but let's actually talk about the main portion of this video. Now let's go over the rewards for death weaving. At rank 1, you unlock a dual school pierce jewel. So basically it's your school as long as with death. So it's always going to be that combination. So keep that in mind. You can get all the way from 1% to 6% depending on your level. At rank 2, you get a utility spell. These basically are negative auras that you can apply to the enemy. Now keep in mind, if an enemy does have a negative aura on them that you applied, aka one of these spells, and they decide to cast one of their own auras, it will override the negative aura. So that's the only niche thing about these negative auras. And if you're confused what the balance one does, it essentially converts any balance damage that this user receives into death damage, and they also get the 35% incoming death damage as well. So if you're confused, that's what it is. And then at rank 3, you get a fusion spell with your school and death. So if there's any of these that you like and you want to train, go for it. Now keep in mind the rewards depend on your school. So every school gets their own fusion spell and their own utility spell and their own dual school pierce jewel because it's your school as well as death. So now that we got that out of the way, how do you start? So you want to talk to Morrison, and Morrison will give you some dialogue, and you want to specifically select where it says select weaving school. He'll let you know like, hey, you can only weave into one school at a time, and just click yes, and you can be able to start your whole progression for weaving, specifically for death, of course. Now once you do that, he should give you a whole quest line that makes you go to Dragonspire collecting these knowledge crystals. Now within these quest lines, at the end of it, you'll be able to talk to the Death Draco, which is Nethalax. In this quest line, he will assist you in these fights. He will even say, do your wish, wizard, but the final blow is mine. So there's going to be like 2 different fights that he joins, and he's going to be basically kind of like a minion. Now he has to get the final blow on one of the enemies in both fights, so keep that in mind. So let him get a kill. Just pack some feints for him and he'll do a hit and he'll take care of the enemy. But if you want to speed it up, what you should do is just kill one of the mobs, because that's okay, you can kill one of the mobs. But on the second mob, try to lower their HP, but don't fully kill them, because then you will have to restart the fight completely and then you're just gonna have to do it all over again. But make sure Nethalax kills the second mob and you're good to go. So you will have to do 2 fights of this, so keep this in mind. And once you do all that, go back to Morrison and he should give you some dialogue and tell you about the lessons. He mentions that you have to do 3 out of the 5 lessons. It can be any of the 3, it's personal preference, but we can go over every single lesson for rank 1. Death weaving. Lesson 1 is help group party members with 6 mainline quests from Krakatopia through Celestia, and that is mainline, not including side quests. Lesson 2 is catch bearded trout in Krakatopia. It has to be specifically in Krakatopia, so going to someone's house does not count. Lesson 3 is defeat King Oronik 7 times. Lesson 4 is defeat 30 Ravagers. Lesson 5 is join a team kiosk in Old Town and help 10 different teams in Krakatopia. Now this is specifically in Old Town, so don't use the join up team kiosk in like a guild or someone's house's house. It has to be specifically in Old Town. Now my recommendation is doing lesson 3, lesson 4, and lesson 5. But if you really don't find people in Krakatopia, what you could do is do the fishing or help people. Now also I want to keep in mind is that where it says to help people in Krakatopia, that does not mean Salinopolis. It has to be specific people in base Krakatopia, like if someone's actually questing there as like a level 15 or whatever it is. It can't be Salinopolis, that will not give you progression. Now once you finish 3 out of the 5 lessons, you can report back to Morrison and he will give you the badge Novice Deathweaver, and you were able to unlock your dual school pierce jewels. Then after that, if you have the ability to, you would have rank 2 unlock if you finish Celestia, and he will give you a new quest line that you can do. Now in this quest line, you are going to be going to Dragonspire and going to be polymorphing into the Death Draco. This dungeon is located right next to Lore Master, so it's not really that confusing. And there'll be 3 separate fights that you participate in, but keep in mind you will be polymorphed in this fight. They'll specifically turn into Nethalax, but it will be your school deck mixed in with his. So it'll be a mixture of fire. For example, for me, it was a mixture of fire and death. And for example, for you, it might be like ice and death or myth and death, whatever, depending on your school. So don't worry about your own deck setup or anything like that, because you technically are polymorphed. But yes, keep in mind there are 3 separate fights in this dungeon, so that is something you need to consider. Now, other wizards except Death can join you on the Sojo outside. They cannot teleport inside the dungeon at all. It will not work. So do your best to learn your deck and power through the fight as the best of your abilities. But from my experience, this is one of the easier ones because the fact is you are death, but that's just my opinion. Also, make sure you set your school to the pip of your school. So for example, I was fire and I set my pip to fire on my deck. Okay, since I am getting a mixture of cards, I do need to have fire pip. So keep that in mind as well. Another thing you should keep in mind is that there is some cheese involved. You can use a pet that has will cast Frozen Kraken. A lot of people keep asking me this over and over, which I do explain in the guides, is that yes, you can use a pet that has will cast Frozen Kraken, and what it does is you can click on it and it'll cast as well as with whatever you cast. It's a very good talent to have on decathlon pets, so that's why it's hence called a decathlon pet. But yes, use any sort of pet that has will cast Frozen Kraken. You don't need to have a bunch of heals. It's just something I recommend because, you know, most people already have a decathlon pet, so just reuse the same pet in this fight. But realistically, if you are a new player, you could just have a decathlon pet that just has Frozen Kraken and you're kind of good to go. Also, I do have a jewel on my Athame, which does have a Maycast aura on it. So that's why I don't use like Maycast Brace or anything like that, because that Maycast aura gives me 10% outgoing to fire damage. So if that's something you want to do, go for it. Also, at the end of this dungeon, you will be fighting the adherent of the Fang, and he does have a chance to be dropping the Death Draco idol. So if you are someone that does Beast Moon, if you really want to, and that's something you want to collect and you don't have the Death Draconian unlocked, this is like an easy way of getting a Death Draconian. But keep in mind the percentage is kind of low, so you might get lucky, and some people have gotten it pretty often, and here's me, I don't need it because I already own it. So it's hit or miss depending on you. Now once you finish this whole dungeon and everything like that, you can report back to Morrison and he will tell you about the lessons again. Now it's the same thing just like rank 1 where you only have to do 3 out of the 5 lessons. So let's go over the lessons again. Lesson 1 is helping group party members with 6 mainline quests from Marleybone through Zafaria. Keep in mind, it has to be mainline quest, no side quests. Lesson 2 is catch 3 pitbull sharks in Marleybone. Lesson 3 is defeat Willy Marks 7 times. Lesson 4 is defeat 30 giant spiders. And then lesson 5 is defeat adherent of the Fang. If you don't know who that is, it's the guy that you just fought in that polymorph fight. So that means you could, if you wanted to, do the entire dungeon all over again. What my recommendation is, do lesson 3, lesson 4, lesson 5. But if you're someone that doesn't want to do that dungeon again, it's personal preference, right? I prefer doing the dungeon again. But if you don't want to, you can go catch sharks in Marleybone, or you can go do the help group party members with 6 mainline quests. It's really up to you, but lesson 3 and lesson 4 are very easy. They don't take that much skill. Now once you finish 3 out of the 5 lessons, you can report back to Morrison and you will gain the badge Apprentice Deathweaver and complete rank 2. Now if you finish Zafaria, that means you would unlock the rank 3 quest immediately. So once you talk to Morrison, he should have a new quest for you, and this involves you going all the way to Stormriven Hall where you're going to be fighting Nettlenax. Now in this fight, Nettlenax will be spamming a cheat, the life energy won't stop, where he keeps using a hot on himself over and over and over at the beginning of the round. Now after a certain amount of time has passed, he will give you a card that is a bottom path B, right? Path B, Skeletal Pirate. So you can use the Skeletal Pirate that he gives you, or if you want to, you can pack your own Path B Skeletal Pirate in your side deck or your main deck or whatever. So if you want to be quicker, you can do that. Or if you want to use a different card, what you can also use in this fight is Dr. Vaughn. So if you have that, right, if you have Path B specifically, that also works in this fight as well. So you kind of just pick whatever you want. It doesn't have to do the final blow, you just have to use it in the fight to be able to kill him. But if it does the final blow, if you use a Path B Skeletal Pirate or Path B Dr. Vaughn, that works too. Now keep in mind, this boss also does drop Weft Yarn, but as I stated in my other guides, I wouldn't recommend farming this guy for Weft Yarn because Rotten Rob is the most efficient way of getting this. So if that's something that you care about, if you want to craft a bunch of those dual school pierce tools, farm Rotten Rob in Storm Weaving. There's already a video on the channel. Highly recommend that you do that instead. Now once you defeat this fight, you can report back to Morrison and Morrison will give you some dialogue, and then after that he will tell you, hey, do the rank 3 lessons for Death Weaving. Just like the other ones, you only have to do 3 out of the 5 lessons. So lesson 1 is help group members with 6 mainline quests from Mushu through Avalon. Lesson 2 is catch 2 Codfather in Mushu. Lesson 3 is defeat Maito 7 times. And then lesson 4 is defeat 30 enraged Krakens. And then lesson 5 is defeat Nethelnax 6 times. My recommendation is do lesson 3, 4, and 5. And then if you don't know who Nethelnax is, it's the guy that I just talked about literally 3 minutes ago with the whole hot spamming cheat. Now, if you don't want to do Nethelnax, I know some people complain about that because they don't want to sit in that fight and just, you know, wait for the card or pack your own treasure cards. You can help people in Avalon or you can catch the Godfather. It's really up to you. But you have to keep in mind the Godfather has to be specifically in Mushu. So that's another thing. Now, after you finish all that, you can turn in your quest to Morrison and you get the badge Initiate Deathweaver. And then after that, that's basically it. Because currently we only have 3 ranks of weaving. So if you are looking for rank 4, that doesn't exist at the time of recording this. But whenever that does get added into Wizard101, I will make another video. Hopefully this guide was helpful, and as I stated, everything I showed in this video will be in my Discord. So if you guys haven't, definitely join the Discord. I would appreciate it quite a lot. Also, I appreciate everyone that's been subscribing. It does mean a lot to me, or even leaving a comment, or even liking the videos. If you guys want to see the polymorph fight and me soloing it, there will be a video on the channel tomorrow. That's just how I've been doing my videos scheduled recently. And then eventually I do have to upload still the fire weaving guide as well as ice and life. I've already recorded fire weaving, so that will be the next video I upload after that. And then as well as I still have to do life weaving and ice weaving. I've already done it before on my storm, but I just have to make videos for them. That is it. Hopefully you guys were able to understand everything in this video. And yeah, that's enough for me. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.